Hello, hello Capricorn. Welcome to your 2020 overview reading. This is good for you if you're a sun, moon, or rising Capricorn. And before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you would like to get some support, some extra guidance, healing throughout 2020. You guys know I put out these videos every month, every week, and obviously do the annual ones as well. So go ahead and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram for more content. And for those of you who are interested in my tarot offerings, I will be doing a tarot pop-up in the month of December. So if you want to get notified when all of that becomes available, sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description box, or just go to onyxhealing.com. Okay, let's start with the oracle cards first. So first thing coming up, I speak with good intent. Okay, so this is just about really checking your own intentions and what it is that you're really wanting. So the meaning underneath this, when I'm looking at it, is it's not just about like, yeah, having good intentions for yourself and others. Like, of course, that's important, but also be intentional about what you're speaking into existence, right? So think about it, your body, God, universe, divine source, whatever you like to work with, listens to you. So really watching your internal talk, watching what you're communicating to others, it's gonna help you. So I'm getting that it's just like a big piece of advice for what to keep in mind regarding your communication. And your intentions are going to carry forward. So of course, you're not gonna be able to maintain a perfect state of like good intent and clear intentions and all of that stuff. It's humanness will come up throughout this. But the primary thing is just being really intentional around your communication and what you're speaking. And that can really help you or work to your disadvantage. Okay, then we have you already are. Yeah, so be very careful with focusing on a destination. Just be careful. I know it's hard to do that, right? It's really, really challenging to not slip into when I get here, then things are going to change, or when I have that job, or when I have the partner, or when I have some peace within my body. I mean, whatever it is that you're dealing with, or when I have the money. All of that is something that you really want to do your best to embody in the present moment so that you can magnetize it to you and you can cultivate that more and more. It's not something that's like way out in the distance. So that's kind of the way that you want to shift that for yourself. I needed to step away from this reading for a while. So if you're wondering why my nails look different and things, I stepped away. So anyway, getting back into your oracle cards for the year, we have devotion. Look at upcoming efforts through the eyes of your soul. Take up the task as if all your heart depended on it. Apply yourself to a sacred passion with consistent presence. Okay. So really, really diving into commitment. What are you committing to? What are you devoting yourself to? What are you aiming at? So I'm getting that 2020 for you is probably going to be a really great year to set concrete, specific goals. And I like to remind everybody of this. We don't want to aim at tackling every single area of our life in a single year, right? We have a lifetime to make the adjustments that we want. So try to focus in on what you're really devoted to. Because if you're setting 50,000 goals for 1 year and you want every area of your life to just poof overnight, be repaired or be exactly where you want it to be, that's the type of stuff that's going to have you give up by February. We don't want to do that. So make sure you're really, really clear about what you are devoted to. Devote yourself to something this year. And then we have surrender. not getting too locked up in the way you think it ought to be, but instead understanding that maybe there is a larger reasoning for why things are happening for your own sanity. It's not like you can experience all of the painful moments and everything like that, but if you're not getting exactly what you want, right, try not to wrestle it. That's what surrendering is. It means you're not going to like wrestle or get really flustered with why things aren't happening in the way that you want them to, and trusting that there might be another piece that needs to click into place. I find that to be extraordinarily helpful, so maybe you will find that as well this year. Because a lot of the time, if you surrender, then things clear up a lot faster that way, and that's what you want to aim for. Now, the central energy for you is the Emperor. Confidence, claiming your strength, claiming your power. This is also divine masculine. And we all have divine masculine. It's that part of ourself that feels into discipline, structure, and where our energy is going out, right? So yin is calling energy in, yang is pushing energy out. So expelling energy, think about like high intensity exercise. That's more of the divine masculine at work. So really noticing how you're using this to your benefit is going to be worth your while in 2020. And then the crossing energy or the challenge is the 10 of Pentacles. Beautiful. So you have that strong foundation. I think this is a reflection of what you've already built. I don't actually think this is like, let me rephrase this. The 10 of Pentacles is showing up because this is like what you're aiming for, right? Look at these dogs. They're staring at the castle. Like that's what we want. We want the kingdom. We want it to be protected. We want it to be provided for. And we want that really concrete foundation. And I think that's why devoting yourself to something really specific or tackling some, not too much, but really getting a lot of energy behind something specific is going to be great for you, because it's about building that structure, that solid foundation. So I'm not getting this as the obstacle. I'm getting this more as the intention, like what you want to set behind in 2020 is like looking at long-term, big picture, macro, zooming out. 10 of Pentacles wants you to zoom out. What you have shifting out in 2020 is the 9 of Cups. Wishes fulfilled, dreams coming true. See, this is more of like the things are working out, even if you don't know how. And I think that's something that's already been happening for you. So now that you're kind of riding off of that wave, the 10 of Pentacles is kind of like, okay, now we're getting to work around the building, right? So maybe things were going really well, or you had a whole bunch of clarity around things. You were refining what it is that you were doing and everything like that. And now it's build time. Okay. Oncoming energy. We have the 10 of Wands. I am going to clarify this, but know that the 10 of Wands often signifies overwhelm. So we want to kind of stay out of the weeds with this. We don't want to fall into overwhelm. That's really not the direction that we want to go ideally. But I'm going to clarify this for you. 6 of Cups, or 6 of Hearts in this deck. But it's, okay, this is being overly self-reliant. So it seems like connection is actually what's missing here. And allowing yourself to be held, be supported, delegate where you need to delegate. Because the 10 of Wands wants you to do everything on your own. It wants you to overload your plate. It wants you to overwork. It's that feeling of, well, I know I can do it all, so therefore I should be doing it all. Not necessarily in 2020. You want to learn how to delegate, how to share things with others wherever you can. It's like, just because you can take care of it all doesn't mean you need to, doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean it's good for your well-being. So you want to, again, zoom out when it comes to longevity and figure out, is the pace that you're working, because you have this divine masculine sitting in the center, that's telling me, if you actually want to maintain that level of energy, you need to be really careful, because this can run a little bit too hot. And when that happens, you lead to burnout. So you want to make sure you're operating at a sustainable pace and a sustainable rate. This comes up a lot in my readings because I know so many people struggle with this. And whenever you have the 10 of Wands on the table, you really need to start asking yourself that question. Can I actually handle all of this all at the same time, or do I need to make some revisions and some adjustments? And the 6 of Hearts right here is just saying that people are more than likely willing and available to help if you make the ask, if you delegate. And I know that's really difficult for Capricorn energy, but just keep it in mind. Now, this is your goal, career, whatever you're working towards. It can be a personal project, it can be something professional, whatever. We have the 8 of Swords. So there's a little bit of blindness coming through, and I think that's probably for the best, because you have the Emperor sitting in the center. And I think there's kind of like, all right, cool down with how far you're looking out when it comes to your plan, or what you're actually able to see. This is where surrender comes in. You might have a goal but not know how you're going to get there, or how things are going to unfold. And it's the feeling of being trapped or confined that's not real, right? Things are still moving, things are still flowing. It's just that I think there's almost a reservation around the amount of information you have permission to see. The reason being that if you already knew how everything was going to play out, you would be constantly in the 10 of Wands. We don't want you to be in the 10 of Wands all the time. It's going to happen, right? We naturally become overwhelmed when parts of our lives become busier and more intense. That's a normal ebb and flow. However, if you already had the stage set, you would just be wanting to fly ahead with everything that you're doing, and you would really miss good opportunities for healing, for repairing, for other projects, for joy, happiness, friendships. It seems like if you are one-track minded, it's like that's a gift and a blessing and a curse, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, all right, we're toning that down. You already have the focus, you have the devotion card on the table, but you need to temper that with surrendering. You need to temper that with not having every step of your plan mapped out, because you're going to need to make room for some detours and modifications as they come up. And so the 8 of Swords is reminding you of that. Now let's look at your relationships. Yes, this can be romantic for those of you who are focused on that, but this can also be friendships or the relationships that are closest to you. We have the 5 of Wands, problem solving, figuring it out. You guys know how much I love this card. I'm going to clarify it for you though. And just know that friction is what helps you gain traction. That's the most important piece of the 5 of Wands, and that's what it helps us to do. And clarify this, we have the Queen of Clubs. It's Wands, technically. But for this, I'm just getting that it's like knowing your power in this situation and what you have the power to do, what you have the power to call in. Showing up authentically in your relationships is going to smooth out the bumps with the 5 of Wands, wherever that might be. You might also be experiencing turbulence if you're overly guarded, or if you're showing up inauthentically, if you're trying to shapeshift. Not going to be a good thing to lean into, especially in relationships. That might backfire on you. So you want to be true to yourself. You want to be honest with yourself. You want to lead with the full expression of yourself as often as you possibly can. We can't do it all the time, but as often as you possibly can. And know that friction isn't bad. Friction is actually where you heal. It's where you problem solve. It's where all of the good stuff comes together. You have to be vulnerable enough, though. You have to actually be willing to lean into that in order to see the progress. So it's not a bad thing. It's kind of like lean into conflict in your relationships with your authentic self, and that is going to be so extraordinarily healing for you. I'm talking way too fast today. All right, let's look at money, the material world, your living space. This is just all material. We have the Chariot. So moving forward, onward and upward. If you're actually building something in this area, it might feel a bit out of control. The Chariot can just feel like you're about to speed off a cliff. That's one of the shadow elements of this card. I don't see it that way. It's like you're getting to where you need to go. It's just that it feels unstable in the process. So find your own stability when it comes to the material world, and it's going to smooth that out for you. But know that you're making great strides. You're making great progress in 2020 when it comes to material gain or solidification of where you're going to live or your material world somehow. Whatever your focus and intention is on materially, that is going to be what really helps you. And then advice for 2020, we have the Hanged Man. Be consistent, be diligent, devote yourself, all of the things that we have already mentioned here. But this is about consistently. How are you showing up each and every day? What are the things that you're providing and energy that you're bringing into situations consistently? Ask yourself and take inventory of how you're showing up consistently. And that is going to be your best friend. And I also want to point out, don't aim at perfection. Okay, aiming at perfection, I mean, you can do it, but if that's really discouraging, then find a new route. So aim for consistency, not perfection. So you can be consistent without doing the same thing each and every day or the same thing each and every time. So it's okay for there to be a variety of things that come up, but the primary focus that you want to have is just figuring out, okay, how can I be more consistent in my approach here? Let's do the timeline. First, second, third, and fourth quarter. These are about 3 months each per quarter. It's a little bit more fluid because we're talking about time. But the first quarter of 2020, we have the Empress. Okay, so this is the counterpart to the Emperor. And I think this might be a period when you actually want to rest more. So this might be a time when you're actually building your strength or taking inventory and reallocating your energy if that's something that needs to be done for you. It's about kind of navigating and shifting your compass and where you're pointing. So the Empress is just having you kind of take inventory and then also build the energy that you need for your projects, your endeavors, things like that. And starting off with the Empress is really good because you have this 10 of Wands. The Empress will balance out that 10 of Wands because the Empress is open to receiving support. She's open to building energy again. And so using that feminine cultivation is going to be really supportive. And then second quarter, we have the Knave of Swords. If you have an idea, pursue it. It's going to be a good time for you to do that, not worrying too much about what the end result will be, right? So we're leaning into the Eight of Swords with this. These are kind of playing together when I'm looking at them. And the reason being is that the Knave of Swords isn't concerned with, is this going to last or is this going to work? It's irrelevant. It's just about the trial. It's just about the attempt. It's just about going after it and seeing what happens and letting the path unfold organically. So the more you can take this approach rather than having every step mapped out in your mind, the better off you're going to be. Quarter 3, we have strength, personal power, will. This is going to be a quarter where you're getting a lot of things done and making things happen. So in the process of making attempts and trying new things and taking a stab at something, you need to do this in the second quarter. You can sit on your hands, but I strongly recommend that you do this because it seems like you find your flow in this third quarter where you finally get into the groove of this is where I'm putting my energy, this is what I'm putting behind it, and so on and so forth. So the Strength card is just saying this is what you are pursuing, what you're going to be available for, and it seems like you figure it out. So the problem solving happens in the second quarter, and the third quarter is where you're like, oh, I'm here. This is what I'm doing now. This is where I'm really in my flow state. So if you're feeling lost, do all of the trying things out, tasting, dabbling, experimenting in the second quarter. And then you're gonna really hammer out the details in the third quarter. And then fourth quarter of 2020, we have the Eight of Swords. Yep, so there's a strong need for you to not look so far ahead in 2020. You can't do that, because the reason being is that it's gonna prevent you from taking the necessary action over here. And that's why I feel like the cards that are coming up are like, nope, nope, nope. You need to just be really present with what you want to try in the moment and let that be good enough. If you're fighting against this, again, you don't want to wrestle with it, because that's just going to drive you mad. And so you want to kind of lean into the experimenting and know that it's going to put you exactly where you need to be. And so the Eight of Swords is also highlighting free will, right? So if you don't prioritize this in the second quarter, my gut is saying you're going to have to do it again in that fourth quarter of 2020 if you don't take action here. So if there's no action being taken, if you're not listening to your gut pushing you in whatever direction, if you're kind of ignoring the inspired action, you're gonna have to do that again towards the end of the year. So pay attention to that timing and do it scared. Remember, you're not gonna be like, oh, now is the perfect time for me to get things done. Oh, this is, where I'm feeling 100% now. Everything is in perfect place. No, it's something that you have to do while things are imperfect, and let whatever is out there catch you. Okay, so let's go ahead, pick a card, any card, ask a question, ask for guidance, whatever it is that you're needing. Card number 1, 10 of Pentacles, that foundation, zooming out, not focusing on the how, but instead just focusing on like, what is the long-term plan? What is the big picture? What is the goal here? So this is a really good reframing for yourself, because it helps you kind of shift out of present suffering or frustration, if that makes sense. Like if you zoom out enough, then you can just feel into, oh, okay, I'm supported, or I'm guided, or things are going to work out. I have the time that I need. But it's also going to hopefully stimulate the part of you that wants to take action. It's not designed to say, oh, I've got plenty of time, so I don't need to act. It's more about being reasonable and understanding of how long things take to compound. Card number 2, we have the 10 of Swords. So you've got to trim the fat, let go of anything that really isn't working for you. If it's not serving you anymore, we need to shed that, get rid of it, let it go. Have it be recycled into the earth wherever it's needed, it's going to go. And the 10 of Swords is also just a reminder that once you have the space to do something else, the good stuff is going to come in. So if your space is cluttered, you really need to sort through all of those clothes that no longer fit. And then card number 3, we have the 9 of Chalices. That was the same card we had over here in the past position. Dreams coming true, wishes fulfilled. You guys already heard that. And the 9 of Cups is simply reminding you that the trajectory of your desires is pointing you in the right direction, but you kind of want to detach from it and focus on the pursuit, the fulfillment in this moment, and letting yourself kind of sink into, I'm okay where I'm at, and it's also okay for me to aim at my desires. But if you get way, way, way too attached to, I need to be here in X amount of time, right? Then you're really going to start getting anxious about it. So you want to temper these two things, because you can see the the card here, this character is really relaxed. It's enjoying the present. It's not filled with anxiety and fear, but rather just a sense of peace and serenity, which is what you want to bring yourself into in the moment. So that's the main thing that's radiating off of this card. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. I absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget, if you want to know which decks I used in this reading, they are listed in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe so you have more supportive videos throughout your 2020. And don't forget to watch your sun, moon, and rising if you haven't already. And if you want to know how to work with me one-on-one, go to onyxhealing.com or check out the description box for all of the fun stuff that I have to offer. And until next time, have a beautiful 2020, everybody, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.